Now broadcasting our board meeting live across the World Wide Web. So welcome to all of you who are viewing at home. This is the board review session of June 6th, 2024. And we have got a number of presentations to make, celebratory evening. And Mr. President, members of the board, at the conclusion of our agenda review and my comments, I am going to ask you for an executive session and will give the reasons at that time. I also want to acknowledge, is Mr. Bilson on remotely? He is not, nor is Mr. Cadella yet. Neither of our two board members are on remotely yet, but they may be joining us remotely. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. We're going to begin. I just have to make a public service announcement. I went into Russ Petrosi's office yesterday along with Mr. Pareto and nearly passed out because he cleaned it. And I just want to let everyone know that after 61 years, he cleaned his office. And you wouldn't even recognize it. If you've been in there, you got to see it. It's, you know what? It's worth a tour, and I'm trying to get the Discovery shuttle to stop at Capitol Cleaners to take a tour and to see his office, because you could actually fit more than two people in there now, Russ. So, Ms. Dunn, you gotta come. It's really worth it. It's really worth it.
Gotta go.
It's really worth it. Excuse me.
Is it true that Mr. Bass is bringing the hose to wash it out?
Well, that's the only way we can get it clean. Good evening, everyone. Our first presentation this night is very celebratory in nature. And we do this every year at this board meeting. We are here tonight to honor 9 students from Niagara Falls High School who have achieved the prestigious seal of biliteracy. And when I say prestigious, I truly mean it. Mrs. Capone is going to talk a little bit more about what that means. But if you achieve the seal of biliteracy, and there's not many students in New York State that do it, that means that you are highly, highly proficient in 2 languages. Highly proficient. Highly proficient in 2 languages. And this evening, we are going to introduce you to a student who is highly proficient in 3 languages. That is a first for the Niagara Falls School District. A first. Before I do that, I would like to recognize a few people. First of all, I want to thank our ENL as well as our second language teachers. I see Ms. Carrie hiding back there next to her colleague, Ms. Wagner. I see Mr. Capone, Ronnie Capone, sitting next to his colleague, Mr. Joe Tiberi, 2 of our ENL teachers. So thank you all for being here on behalf of your students. These teachers came out because of the students, and that really says a lot about the 4 of you. I also want to publicly acknowledge 2 additional people before the proceedings begin. The first is a teacher who is housed at and works in the NL program at Calthus Elementary School. Her name is Miss Mallory Leo. Mallory, last Friday evening, was presented by Arbor West, which is all of the ENL programs in this part of the state. Arbor West, that's what that means. Our Mallory Leo, our ENL teacher at Calthus, was selected as the teacher leader of the year. So I think that is just a wonderful, remarkable accomplishment, and she's our very own. Well deserved. At the conclusion of that celebration, a special award was presented to Ms. Marcia Capone for her legacy of working in the NL programs, among many other things, and really supporting and leading ENL in this district for a number of years. So Marcia, that is a lot of I wanted to publicly congratulate you. It was a beautiful award that you received last week. I am going to call her up now, and what I'd like Ms. Capone to do
Well, good evening, everyone. The Seal of Biliteracy. 5 years ago, the Niagara Falls City School District made the commitment to providing the opportunity for our students to receive the New York State Seal of Biliteracy. We were one of the first actual districts in this part of the state to do so, other than Buffalo that had a bilingual program. Now, we originally had that year 5 candidates who received the Seal of Biliteracy. What was interesting was that our students were remote at the time. So all of us as a committee, being novices and looking at the criteria, had to listen to the presentations and testing remotely. Everything had to be done through Zoom and remotely. And that was our raters too. We had a great support from the community. There were several doctors that would Zoom from their offices at the hospitals to judge our students, because we have to find raters who speak the language. And that was a really exciting year for us. And then we started to be able to meet in person after the COVID pandemic was over. So we've continued the program, and this year we have 9 students. But what does it take to get the Seal of Biliteracy? Well, you have to prove proficiency in English and at least 1 world language. And that means you have to be proficient in 4 modalities: speaking, listening, writing, and what is it, Mrs. Wagner? Reading. So if you can speak a language, but you're not literate in it, or you could read and write, what would happen? You could not get the seal. And you have to get 3 points in each language. Many of our students write essays, they do presentations, and this year we had some pretty exciting presentations. Very strong, and the support also of some raters that came from the universities and also from the community at large. So at this time, Mr. Laurie already acknowledged our faculty. But as he said, this year is a milestone for us, because this is the first time we had juniors presenting and saying they'd like to see if they can get through the seal before their senior year. They won't receive it yet. You get it upon graduation. But already we have 9, and that's unprecedented for us. This was the first year we did that. And then, of course, we have a student that is receiving the seal in 3 languages. And I will say that his rater in Turkish was very tenacious. It was a professor from Istanbul, and he certainly kept you going on your toes, didn't he, Robinho? So with that, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Laurie and Mrs. Villardo, and I'll say a few things about each one of the students.
You want to keep the mic?
Okay.
So what we'd like to do is Ms. Villardo call you up here, if you would come forward, if you would mind staying, and we'll take a group picture with your medals on, and then you can go back and either stay for a really, really, really exciting meeting, or you can leave. Your choice, there's no penalty. Okay? Your choice, there's no penalty.
Yep. Our first student, if you could come forward, is Taishka Ahmed.
Okay. Taisha is currently an English language learner in our district who has already proven through testing and her presentations her ability and proficiency in the English language. The languages that she represented and is fluent in are Bangla or Bengali and English.
Next up is Rafe Bawamia.
Rafe is a former English language learner in our district. He achieved his English proficiency in the 2014 school year. He has continued to have a very high GPA, just as Tayeshka has, and his languages are English and Spanish. And I know a little something. I hear you speak Urdu at home, but you can't read it yet. So, but you're on your way to also an additional language. Thank you.
Next up is Melanie Palazzo Castillo.
Melanice is fairly new to our district. She comes from the Buffalo Public Schools. We're happy to have her as our student now. She is a former English language learner. She achieved English proficiency in 2019. I think, Melianis, you hail from Puerto Rico? And her languages were Spanish and English. And you were the one that came up to one of our teachers and said, I'd like to go for the seal of biliteracy. And everybody said, who is she? And it turned out you are new to our district. Welcome.
Next, we have Arush Kamat.
Arush is also a former English language learner who achieved English proficiency in 2022. Arush maintains a high GPA, and her languages are Urdu and English.
Next, we have Charity Coster.
Charity's home language is English, and she is really a graduate of our Spanish program here in the Niagara Falls City School District. She is in Spanish 5, and she is fluent in English and Spanish, and she spent some time in Haiti, where I believe your parents were missionaries. Am I correct? So, congratulations.
Next, we have Madeline Jarznicki.
Madeline's home language also is English, and Madeline has gone through our Spanish program here at Niagara Falls High School. Is in Spanish 5, is fluent in Spanish and English, and maintains a high GPA also. And she has been with us since pre-K. I read everybody's history, by the way.
We have Akash Joshi.
Akash is an English language learner here, and he has become proficient in English in 1 year's time. This is his first year with us, and he's just totally amazing. He did his presentation in Hindi and is fluent also now in English.
Next, we have Awad Nadi.
Ala was a former ENL student here, an English language learner, and achieved English proficiency in the 2019 school year. Ala is proficient in Arabic and English.
And last, we have Rabinho Ryan.
Robinho is a former English language learner. He achieved his English proficiency in 2019, and he is our first recipient who is fluent in 3 languages, which are English, Turkish, and Spanish, which he learned with us.
Let's get a nice group picture here. Okay, I'll tell them that. I just wanted to say to our students, we're so proud of you. It's an amazing accomplishment. You make us better. Your languages, your culture, your beliefs, your intellect, and your knowledge make us a better school district. Thank you for being ours. Parents, thank you for trusting us with your children.
You make our school district better. And on behalf of all of us, we say congratulations. Way to go. If you'd step outside, there'll be a nice group picture, and good luck the last couple of weeks. Make sure you go to school every day. Make sure you get all your work done. And make sure you have fun, but also please be safe. Okay? Thank you very much. Yeah, really nice. Really impressive. Three languages, yeah. Yes, they are. He's really impressed. That's really impressive. We'll just let them step away for a second. Okay. Members of the board, we have another presentation this evening. But before I ask Ms. Villardo to come forward, I wanted to acknowledge three things that are not on the agenda. First of all, team, on Tuesday evening, I was fortunate enough to attend the Scholarship and Senior Awards dinner, which was different this year, and sat in the gymnasium, which looked beautiful, and watched 400 people. They weren't all students. 400 community members and their children come in the high school and celebrate scholarships, honor the 24 valedictory graduates, honor those for community service, attendance, presidential fitness, etc. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. I love what you did, and the only disappointing thing is that more and more people don't see that, because it's what Niagara Falls High School really, really signifies. And team, you did an excellent job, but more importantly, and I noticed a couple of the Seal of Biliteracy students were also scholarship winners too. I wanted to thank you for putting on a wonderful event. I know on the 17th, you have a partnership dinner, and through our PS2 program, you as a team and staff have garnered more and more and more partners. And at that breakfast, we'll be honoring a lot more partners and more successes at Niagara Falls High School. But finally, I wanted to publicly thank you and acknowledge you as administrators and the Niagara Falls High School faculty and staff. As you recall, as we led into Easter break, we had a couple of unfortunate instances. You as an administrative team, working with the staff, got together, met, and established what I'll call reset plan to return from Easter break. I am extremely proud and pleased with that reset plan and how strong you finished the last 10 weeks of school. You deserve congratulations and recognition. As we knew you would, you rose to the occasion. Unfortunate things happen. They did. I acknowledge, you acknowledge. And you had a really, really good, it's not over yet, but you had a really good 10 weeks. And I wish those unfortunate things didn't happen, but your response was spot on. And I continue to wish you good strength, luck, and perseverance in the last couple of weeks. But you're rising to the occasion as a team and bringing the staff with you and listening, and the staff under your direction, all of you, following your leadership. They did. So to the staff at Niagara Falls High School, to the faculty, to everyone, I wanted to just say thank you and acknowledge it. We acknowledge it when there's a problem, And we need to acknowledge it when you respond. And you responded. And my you means not just you, but the entire teaching staff and support staff. But it would be very inappropriate not to acknowledge you for that. It is a lead-in to something that I'm going to ask Ms. Villardo to present here with her team, of course. So Cheryl, if you'd come to the microphone. And I know this is a little bit hard to see, but Mrs. Villardo will talk you through this. And I just want to give a bit of a preamble before she begins. There have been various calls for, you need to have another alternative school. You need to have 3 more alternative schools. I acknowledge the fact that we have students who need additional and alternative supports. I acknowledge the fact that some of the programs that we've started need to be built up and supported more. But what I think and what I hope to accomplish in the next 15 minutes while Ms. Villardo presents is to let the board know and the public know and the students and parents know that we don't have just one high school with one pathway. We actually have 9 different alternative type settings. Because if you know anything, we know that all kids need different things. And if we think we're just going to have a school and an alternative school and move it off site and think, out of sight, out of mind, it's solved, we're mistaken. We've tried that, it doesn't work. So what I really appreciate about this presentation is that the administrative team, once again led by Cheryl, has created I'll call it a continuum of supportive alternative programs. The last thing I'll say, and I'm going to let her take it away then, is that one of the hallmarks of this reset alternative plan is to really reformat the internal alternative program that we call Big Picture. And I heard this presentation on Tuesday, and I'm very pleased with it. So I know the print is small. We're happy to get you copies. And I was excited about this presentation, and I shared it with the vice president and president, and Mr. Parental made a good point. This needs to be posted very, very prominently on our website, your webpage. We've got to post this. And I thought it was a good suggestion, Tony, when we met. So Cheryl, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie, and I want to thank all of you for your support in the last couple of months as we did reset. Without your support, we couldn't do that, so thank you. And I also want to acknowledge that the students themselves have responded really, really well. They do not like the hall sweeps, but they are responding to it, and they are running to class, literally, so it's been nice to see, and I give the students credit. It's not always easy to do that reset in April, but they have responded positively. When I came to Niagara Falls High School, this is my 4th high school I've worked at, and I was very impressed by the dedication and commitment of Mr. Laurie and the board to their motto, learning for all, whatever it takes. And I've worked in other high schools, and high schools have not changed a lot since the 40s and 50s, and probably even longer than that. They're very one-size-fits-all. You come in, you go to class, you go to class, you go to class, you go to class. 4 Englishes, 4 sciences, 4 social studies, 4 maths. This district is different in that we acknowledge that different learners have different needs and have supported that. So we appreciate it very much. To walk you through the continuum, and as Mr. Laurie said, I think it's really nice to have it documented. These programs have changed since I've come to Niagara Falls High School 6 years ago. As we've created, developed, and refined them, now is a really good time to put them on paper and really make it a living document. So when we work with parents, when we work with students, when we work with staff, we can share how many alternative ways we have to get a high school education in Niagara Falls. So starting on the left-hand side is our traditional in-person. These are the students who generally come to school every day or most days. They generally don't have a lot of issues navigating the building and doing well academically. On the far right side is sort of our most restrictive, and that is an out-of-district placement. And the thick line on that right-hand side indicates that those students are Niagara Falls City School District students. They are not Niagara Falls High School students. So we do send students out to Falk, to Lewis, H.G. Lewis, to some of these other learning centers that better fit the needs of students with really high challenges to getting their education. Just to the left of that, district home teaching, that's a placement we hope is temporary for students as they wait to be placed in and out of district. And we've gotten support from Cheryl Mateer in our special ed department to help educate those students while they wait for an out-of-district placement. Moving across the continuum, you can see we've got administrative home teaching, we've got remote with in-person support, either in our community schools that are in the city, or through Twilight, which is located at Niagara Falls High School, where students can come in after school, 4 days of work, and work with our staff members to get help with their remote learning. Big Picture, which I will come back to in just a minute. And then Twilight and in-person with pass or attendance team. These are students we believe can be successful in the traditional school day in the traditional building, but either temporarily or more long-term need some extra support. But with that extra staff and support and help, that they can succeed in Niagara Falls High School. I do want to focus a little bit on big picture. A few years ago when we came back from COVID and really students had kind of forgotten how to be students, we had a strong need to find a different way to educate some of our students, and that was when we developed our PTE, our Pathways to Excellence program, which is within Niagara Falls High School, but it is a smaller setting. It is one wing and one floor within the high school. It is a much smaller setting with staff dedicated to students in that program. We are transitioning from Pathways to Education to Big Picture. Big Picture is a national model of non-traditional education that we have subscribed to. We have visited schools both in New York State, Western New York, as well as New Jersey and Albany. I'm looking at Mr. Ruffalo, to see their models and to make sure that that was the direction we wanted to head in. What we're finding now, it initially had a lot of kids with like disrespect and behavior problems, but what we're finding now is we've got kids who come to school every single day and aren't successful, or most days. They may avoid learning by being truant to class. They may avoid learning by going to class and putting their head down or getting on their phone. And we are seeing such an emerging trend of those learners that's really what Big Picture is going to be geared towards starting next year and moving into the future. And the way Big Picture does this is through a commitment to building trusting relationships, again, in a smaller learning environment. They use advisory time where they are with the same adult every day they come into the building for 4 years, so they can build that relationship and that person becomes their advocate. Project-based learning, so not sitting in rows and desks learning, but up and doing things to learn. Leaving to Learn, which means that we are developing more work-based learning and internship programs to make education relevant. There's a reason these students, despite coming to school most days, aren't successful, and that's because they don't find what they're doing relevant, and they can't get behind it. So we need to make sure we meet them where they are at. What are your interests, and how can we use your interests to educate you and provide you a good education at Niagara Falls High School? Mr. Laurie, was there anything else you wanted me to touch on?
No, I just wanted to show the board and everyone that there is a menu or continuum depending on the needs of the child. It is a fluid continuum. It is not that you're 6'2", you have a left hand, you sneeze on Wednesdays, you go into this bucket. That is not how it is. The staff, the team has to look at every individual student, and in these cases, they have not had success in the column 1 in-person traditional learning. There is a meeting that needs to be held with each student and their parent. Oftentimes, the students and their parents aren't happy with those decisions, but they need different supports. By their needs, choices, etc., they need to go to one of these programs that will better suit their needs and have the resources to help them. And it's not something that says 5 weeks and you're out, 6 weeks and you're in. That's not how it works. It is a holistic look. People can move back to the in-person building. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen overnight. Frequently, if you avail yourself of counseling, other supports, mentoring, that can happen. If you choose to go the other way, we have an obligation to educate you. When you choose to make an inappropriate choice, what I say is that you've given up the choice of how to get your learning. You'll get learning, but how to get that learning is become in our bailiwick. And I think it is incumbent upon us to make all 7, because the last 2 are replacements, all 7 of those options as strong as possible with as many resources as possible. I just want to say something, and I have a philosophical, educational problem with off-site alternative schools, philosophically, educationally, and experientially. When we've done it, it has been out of sight, out of mind, and we can't get enough resources there. These programs stay within the confines of Niagara Falls High School under the responsibility of the 5 people you're seeing here, and there's an attachment to them. Programs or alternative programs that are off-site, out of mind, don't have the opportunity to get the resources, the supports, and the help. Off-site, out-of-mind programs at different locations tend to be disproportionately black, tend to be disproportionately students with very poor attendance who don't ever show up, and tend to be, and then you take the students that are having those same behaviors, put them in a room or a school together, and there is no one to model good behavior off of or good choices off of except a few skilled teachers. It doesn't work in my educational experience and philosophy. I know that's up for debate, but these programs keep you in the school with supports. However, how you get your education is determined by your individual profile. What I do have to acknowledge here is that we need some work on our community schools. It came to us late. I will credit Bishop Kevin Dobbs and his program at Christ Redemption. It is working very well. One of the reasons is Bishop Dobbs is there, counseling, tutoring, helping. Mr. Graneri has put in technology, the same technology they have here in that building, and I think that that model works. I think that we need to start it sooner, and I think that we need to look for transportation. So those are a couple of needs to continue. What do we need? We need our continued support resource-wise, and we need our continued support with parents to understand this. So your suggestion, Mr. President, is only a start. We've got to really promote this. So I think they've done a good job. Nothing is pure. From time to time, there'll need to be some movement. Big Picture is formerly known as PTE. It's got some good, PTE is good, but this will take it to a different level, and the clients, students, will be of a different category. I just think we're trying to be, as Cheryl said, whatever it takes to most kids in most occasions. And sometimes it's a hard conversation. That's why they're there. That's why they were selected. That's how they're trained. They've got to build trust. It's not just the 5 administrators. They have teammates that help and work with them. But we've got to, A, really focus on the true meaning of big picture, and then B, really make sure that we have the right people in the right buckets. I don't mean to call them buckets, I meant to call them programs. I'd like to say one other thing, because we had speakers come to a meeting to reflect this, and let's just be transparent. You know, there are kids that have come out of incarceration, or kids that have come out of the juvenile justice system. We have to acknowledge that. We have to educate them. I think it is a far leap to come from that system and go directly into the big building. I think it's a far leap. I think we're not doing anybody a favor. We are not doing a favor to those students. But if we could find a softer, more appropriate landing spot, we'll have a better, stronger completion. And I acknowledge what the speaker said. I remember the meeting like it was yesterday. and we just needed to take this time to reformat that. How is that, Cheryl? Is that good?
I think that's great. And I just want to add that 22 credits and 5 Regents exams are the graduation requirements. Any student in any of these programs has access to that. I think we've done a really good job of resourcing that so that we can make sure that no matter what program they're in, they have access to what they need to graduate. We are in the process right now with our student support team input of recommending change of programs. We've got those pretty much finalized. Our next step is to reach out to schedule those meetings with parents and students and explain to them, you're not being successful. It'd be irresponsible of us to keep you in the same program where you have shown that you are not doing well. We've got to try something different in order to get you credits, in order to get you the exams that you need to graduate. And we've had some good success, especially in PTE, the big picture. Kids who were suspended multiple times last year and failing lots of classes who are high honor roll students this year. And I think the students themselves, when Mr. Ruffalo asks, most of them don't want to go back to the big building. They fought us to go there, but once they got there, they realized that it is good for them and that they like the education that they're getting there. Not every day because they're teenagers, right? There are bumps. But by and large, do you have anybody who's requesting to go back this year? No, not one of the approximately 100 students who are there, 120 students who are saying, I really want to go back to the main building, to the full school day.
Now, they may say that to their
When
friends.
they're mad.
They may say that out loud, but when you have a one-on-one meeting with them, that's not what they're saying.
That's exactly right.
I just want to say something else because it's kind of reared its head at this time of the year, and Ms. Villardo and I have to have a couple of conversations, and she and the team are dealing with this. Under any of these programs, there's no statement that says, I want to be careful how I say this, but I want to also say it. Because you're not in the big building doesn't mean you could be on the basketball team.
Correct.
Because you're not in the big building doesn't mean you can't attend, I don't know, whatever.
Homecoming, yeah.
Now, what will dictate that is your work, your commitment, your attendance, your cooperation. So what doesn't happen on this chart, or when we expand it, it won't say you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do this, you won't go here, you won't go here. These are high school students who, if they are working in their program, have access to play football, have access to go on the historically black college tour, have access to go to a dance. Because that I know that's so important to our kids.
It is, and frankly, they have probably a better chance because they're not going to be out on a suspension. They're not going to be ineligible academically because they're getting an education that fits their needs better.
So as long as they meet the eligibility criteria, which are not the hardest thing in the world to meet if you do your job, you have access. You have access to those. It's not because Mr. Rotella likes him and Ms. Villardo doesn't like him. That's not how it goes. It goes on data and conversations. Questions from board members?
Yes?
I just wanted to reiterate a thought. A lot of times our family members of our students, we hear stuff. I'll be at a community day, he'll be out there, or he'll be somewhere, and we hear, oh, we didn't know about this setting or this program. So where that came from the other day was, you know, it's not that we're tired of hearing it, that never, but the most information that we can give our public, our people, our family of our students, the better. And some of them don't even know about all of our programs. So I think we'd be kidding ourselves also if we didn't post these things, post some other things, because we really have a lot. And I know there's always room for improvement and always room for more. Definitely need more. But I think we're going okay. We're going to step in the right spot. Now we just have to promote it a little more, because there are a lot of students that just can't be in that setting. And I realize it with either a family member working in our school or just being here and being attentive and listening to all the stuff that you guys have.
So I think you're right on, Tone. I really do. I've heard it from Ms. Dunn too. She's close to the school for personal reasons of her children. I hear it too. Sometimes, you know, we could say it 7 times 77 times, but we've got to say it that 8 times 80 times. And I do not disagree with you. And yes, there is room for improvement, but we're not sitting stagnant. I think that's the word. We're not saying, oh, hey, fit what we got. If it doesn't work, good luck. We're not sitting stagnant. We're trying to continue to make this evolve. But I think you are right on the mark. And I think where you were going, Mr. Pareto, is it's not just alternative programs. It's PS2, it's trades, it's everything.
And that was actually one of our commitments of our school SEP this year, was better communication with families and the community so we can let people know what we have to offer. So we keep on working on that.
Mr. Consemi had a question.
2 questions.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim. How is it determined where they go, which program? Is it parents involved? What's the process?
We have, we opened it up to our student support team to make recommendations. So those are our deans, our social workers, our counselors, our past team members, administrators. And we also, I think we showed this last year, we have a very detailed student tracker that shows attendance data, behavior data, and coursework data. So we use a combination of recommendations, and Mr. Ventry very painstakingly went through all 2,100 kids to identify kids that may need a change of program. At that point, we will bring the families in.
And one off-topic question. Is there the rumor I heard from Albany that she's talking about, meaning her, our governor, cell phones in schools?
I've heard the same rumor.
Yeah, I have a legislative update at the end of our, that I'll go through all of this. I have 9 pieces of legislation that I've been reading about that will be either passed or not passed by Saturday.
Probably 8 of them aren't any good anyway, but.
A couple of them are okay, but I'll tell you where I think that's going. But you're right, it is being discussed. It hasn't been decided upon. I'll tell you where I think it is. Okay. Well, let me ask, can I, before Mr.
Ms. Vitello?
So Ms. Villardo, one of the things that I've complimented the prep schools on, and I know it's something that you and the team wrestle with a lot, and Mr. Petrozzi was leading there, is, you know, the effect and the impact cell phones have, not just on the person, but oftentimes we have fights in the school, and you've told me, all of you have told me, sometimes the hardest thing is to get those kids away and get their cell phones put away, because that exacerbates the problem. I know that's part of what's in the thinking of the legislation, and you jarred my mind when you said that. And I wonder if you could comment on that.
Well, the cell phone issue, it continues in the workplace. It's crazy.
Right. And so it is, it's the impact on mental health, it's the distraction from learning, and it's the climate and control of the building, because if a student, if they're back and forth on Snapchat, then sometimes that escalates into in person, and it really can accelerate a conflict. So I would, it's hard. It's hard to find a balance of students using cell phones for learning, which they do sometimes, parents being able to contact, but also that responsible use. So this year we did come up as a building. Our plan is to have 9th grade cell phones away during instruction in all classes, and to scale that up every single year, so that by 12th grade in 3 years, we would have no cell phones anywhere in classrooms. They would be put away when they're in a classroom. They would still have access in the halls and cafeterias, although that's certainly something that we'd revisit. I think logistically trying to take away 2,100 cell phones upon arrival at the building is something we struggle with. Can it be done? I'm sure there's a way. We just have to figure that out.
But you need everybody's support.
Absolutely.
It can't be done by 5 people.
No.
It can't be done by 5 people.
It's got to be done at home.
Can you,
And we need parent support on that as well. at
30
least,
seconds. I thought, when I just talked about reset, I thought what you did with the 9th grade, I know it was 9th grade only, but I thought what you did with the 9th grade, aside from the hall sweeps, what you did with cell phones in 9th grade roll calls. Can you talk about what you did the last 10 weeks?
Yeah, so we've had this kind of expectation in effect all school year, but what we were hearing from teachers was that they were having a hard time enforcing it. So we each took teams every day when we came back from spring break and did kind of surprise visits to make sure that the kids' cell phones were in bags. What actually ended up making the biggest difference is we walked around with Starbucks coupons where they could come in the morning and get a free Starbucks if we walked in and caught them having their cell phone in the bag. And the students would really liked that. When are you coming to our classroom to check to make sure our cell phones are away? So that's helped. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at, right?
That's where we're at right now. Yep.
Jimmy?
I have a question for you. When do our students get a chance to hear about the vocational training? How does that fit into this program?
The vocational training? Yes. So, I mean, obviously in the in-person building, we've got our construction trades program right now. Students still do attend BOCES. We've got our junior law academy. We've got education classes. With Big Picture, we are building those within our program where we are working to have partners where students will go out into the community with a mentor partner where they can learn about a trade or a vocation that they are interested in. So, and even at Reverend Dobbs' place, we're hoping that, he's very handy and works around the church, that kids who are interested in that, he'll kind of take under their wing as a mentor and help them learn those things. So we're still very committed to it. We've got students in our construction trades program who have built a beautiful pergola outside the cafeteria. And Tuesday, when we had a Regents testing day, I think we had 4 of those kids come to school on a day they didn't have to because they're so committed to finishing that project. And there are kids who have been disengaged students for years this is what they've found that they love.
Let me intercede right now. I was going to save it for my report, but I attended a meeting on Tuesday with the Erie Niagara Building Trades, along with the mayor, city administrator, and Department of Public Works director. And what we committed to was to have all of our building trades kids at Niagara Falls High School, along with the building trades people, rebuild. God bless you, Rob. Is it rebuild, Tony? Is it rebuild? Rebuild again? They're going to build, not rebuild. They're going to build a gazebo next to the inclusive playground at High Park off of Robbins Drive. That's going to be the building trades class signature program. I like it because it's right on Pine Avenue. I like it because every one of the trades is represented in it. I like it because it's going to be something everybody can see and contribute. I like it because they'll see our kids hammering out there with them. Your question just sparked me to tell everybody something early. I like it because the kids have already received their OSHA 10 cards and all that. Now they're going to get their hammers and belts and nails and the pergola, is that what you call it? It's really cool. They put picnic tables in it. They've got it built for electricity. We're thinking about a little dedication there at some point, but
And starting next year, our students, some of them will be able to go eat lunch outside there at the picnic tables made by our students, under the pergola made by our students. So, we hope to replicate it on the other side, outside the other cafeteria as well. So I guess to answer your question, we're very committed to that kind of education, vocational education, for every student, regardless of where they are placed, what kind of program.
any one of them should and can be part of the PS2 program.
Correct.
No one's excluded from that. The only thing that excludes you from that is your choice of how you handle yourself. That's the only thing that excludes you. Other questions?
Yeah, this shelter that they're gonna put up is actually, steel.
Yep.
So they're gonna have the iron workers involved, and they're gonna do a little welding on it.
Yep.
The roofing is metal, there's concrete, there's gonna be electric in it.
Yep.
There's, they're even talking about running a spigot for cold water. So we're gonna hit all the
Trades.
Yeah,
Everything but plaster right now.
no plaster.
But I think they could plaster. Tony Pareto was here. Oh, that's in the concrete. Okay.
No, I just,
I wanna just say this. I was negligent in not saying it, and you did it well, Ms. Villardo. I thank the staff, I thank the administrators. I want to thank the students at Niagara Falls High School on the reset. You're right. We got a few phone calls about hall sweeps. We got a few phone calls. Sometimes it wasn't easy, but you did it. It was necessary, and I know that that's how we'll hit the ground running in September.
Absolutely.
And I think that we showed that the kids are like you said, they're running to class. They're running to class.
It's a beautiful thing. I had a kid knock into me the other day because he was running to class so hard.
Who knocked into you, Jalen? I'm kidding,
It was
Ms.
not
Dunn.
Jalen.
I'm kidding. I'd call him out if he was here because she knows
Yes.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very much again for your support and for letting us have some time tonight to present all the alternatives we have to learning at Niagara Falls High School.
I'm gonna make one comment. Because I've heard this already. If the cell phone, get passed, be prepared to fight with the parents. Because some parents have came to me and said, Niagara Falls School better not take that phone from my kid.
I know. I know.
So be prepared.
I'm prepared. I'm also a parent, and I would love for my kids' cell phones to be taken when they walk in the door. So I think we can win most of them over.
She better not have it in her English class in 7th
No,
grade.
Mr. Laurie, your son is strict about the cell phone. I love it.
Yeah, except for his own. No, that's all right. I'm kidding. He watches these things too, so I don't.
Before Mrs. Valero sits down, can we just ask you to tell us what the schedule is for next Saturday?
Oh yeah, we want to talk a little bit about. Can you, off
Class
the top
day?
Of your, yeah, can you talk about?
Can I talk on the top of my head? I think I can. So kids are going to arrive at the high school at 9 a.m. The parade will kick off at 10 a.m. It will follow the same route as it did last year, which is down Porter to Hyde Park to Pine, and then back through Robbins Drive. Thank you. Through the park, and then finish back at the high school. At that time, we will have our class day picnic out on the football field. Saturday, the 15th. Yep.
Can you talk now about prom and post-prom?
Yes. Prom is June 21st, 6:30 p.m. at the Conference Center. Post-prom will follow until 2 a.m. at Niagara Falls High School. It's not all night anymore. That was a change before that predated me. I like the all night long.
I don't like to give him credit, but all I know is, when I was principal, Mr. Ventry and I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun was coming up, and I'm alone with Ventry, so it wasn't my favorite night, but the kids were great.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. That's
the-
always a really fun night.
The post-prom, and then you'll be back in 2 weeks to give the board a quick update on graduation, which is...
It is June 27th, a Thursday night this year, just because of how our school calendar fell so late. So Thursday, June 27th at 6 p.m. on the football field.
And the rain, Ventry was in charge of the rain last year. The rain date's the next day. The alternate rain date's the Saturday.
Yes. So
And-
Friday night at 6, Saturday at 10 a.m. are our
Right.
rain dates.
Good,
Pray
good.
we don't need them.
I hope we don't need them. Friday night at 6, Saturday in the morning at 10,
10.
if it's really a monsoon. And Regents started already.
Yes, we had one testing day, algebra on Tuesday, June 4th. That was an early exam because it's new standards and the state does those early. And then next Friday, June 14th, is our continuation. Regents Week really kicks off then. So our last day of classes is June 13th.
And there are no more of those COVID waivers in terms of helping
Correct.
students.
So all of our students with an asterisk have to get a 65 or higher, although the state does have many options in 4+1, local determination for students with IEPs. So we are, Mr. Rotella has been working with his PS2 staff to make sure that any student who can benefit from a CDOS as either a +1 exam, it'll count as an exam if you do the career readiness program with 216 hours of work-based learning hours, or for our students with IEPs, they could ultimately not pass any Regents exams, but if they do that very important work readiness, the CDOS, they can appeal to Mr. Laurie with their 22 credits to still graduate with a local diploma. So the exemptions and the special appeals are gone, but the state, even before COVID, had multiple pathways to graduation for students.
While we're on the topic, the Board of Regents is meeting June 10th and 11th to begin to determine implementing those. Mrs. Jones was here to begin how to implement those 12 graduation standards. So that's June 10th and 11th. The Regents, that won't impact us this year. I would say if we were talking next year at this time, we might be talking about some new, well, not even, probably the following year. And for those listening, because I did get a call about this before, that doesn't mean the Regents exams are being eliminated. It means there's going to be alternate ways to get that diploma. And we'll fill everyone in. Please, if your kids are in 9th grade, 10th grade taking Regents, keep pushing, keep doing it. Doesn't mean they all go away. It just they're going to be more performance-based ways to demonstrate proficiency. Anything else, Ms. Velardo, or your team? You're all
I
good?
think we're all set. Very quiet month at Niagara Falls High School in June.
Yeah. Well, you had a great Honor Society induction.
Great
You
Honor
had a
Society,
great
senior
scholarship.
awards.
Your partnership dinner, again, is the 17th
Yes,
at
our
9?
partnership breakfast is the 17th.
What is that?
It is, we invite our partners, both our higher ed and our business partners, to a breakfast to thank them. We will have some students there to, kind of testify to how our partnerships benefited their high school careers. And we will really be thanking our partners with a breakfast.
And we've invited 5 members of the Say Yes team to that breakfast so that they can start to get familiar with who our partners are, because that's such an important part of partnership. Again, I wish you health, stamina, prayers. You've had a good year, but a wonderful last 10 weeks. And thank you, first of all, students, because you're right. Thank you, administrators, and thank you, teachers and staff, for the work you did to really pull it together. Kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Graneri, would you please pull up the agenda review? This is the last. I have 2 other things for you, board members. I have an agenda review. Thanks, Ray. Leave it right there. That's this week's. We did that. And then I have a couple of, there you go, Ray. So, your next meeting is Thursday, June the 20th. And we will start at 5:30. At that point, we will have Ms. Velardo and team come back to talk about graduation. And then we've got the fun task of going through 80 resolutions, right, Judy? About 80 resolutions for the July 2nd meeting. Not a lot of changes, but we like to go through those with you. And then that is your voting. July 20th is your official voting and public speaking meeting for the month. So Ray, if you'd go to the agenda, I'll go through this with the team. It's okay. There we go. I know, and I mean this sincerely, she always starts us off with a beautiful prayer, Mrs. Dunn, seriously. You start us with a beautiful prayer that's timely and relevant to things that are going on. After that, we have 4 special presentations, board members, on the 20th. There are 2 golden apples. You know, the golden apple is an award for someone outside our district. The 2 golden apple receivers are Dan Uset. Dan works at Voss Manufacturing. And Dave Norton. Dave works for Moog. Voss and Moog have been huge partners and have already offered jobs to kids in the P-TECH program. That's why we thought it would be a good, a golden apple group. After that, the Niagara Falls Teachers Union and you, the Board of Education, will be awarding a $2,000 scholarship to a young lady. I'm going to mispronounce her name. It's Diogene Hill. She is a minority student at Niagara Falls High School who has been on a number of historically black college trips, and she is going to become a teacher, and she is the recipient of the Niagara Falls Board of Education, Niagara Falls Teachers Minority Future Educator Scholarship. At that time, Ms. Massaro will have a job application and pre-employment records ready for her. We then have right now in Disney, our unified students are in Disney from the 4th to the 8th. They're on a Disney leadership trip. They have a short video. You've seen these before, but the unified students and their parents want to come and thank you for supporting them. Those are our presentations that evening. Then we will go into the minutes, the budget transfer number 11, and then we have 5 bids. Let me go through these with you now. They just closed today. The first bid is school apparel. That was the apparent low bidder is Stewart Sports of Lewiston. They're our current provider, and Stewart Sports is the only bidder there. Our printing and distribution of your school's public newsletter is the same group, Datamation from Buffalo, New York, that is currently providing that service. That's the calendar and 3 issues of our public schools. Bid number 3, we had only one bidder. It's our current provider, and that is ERB or ERB. Is it ERB? ERB is the apparent low bidder. I'm not sure, where are they from, dude?
Buffalo.
They're from Buffalo. Yeah. The apparent low bidder for athletic apparel in-game, this is for our uniforms, is AdPro. We received a 45% discount. This is their second and final extension. They were our only bidder. And the supplemental classroom books was our only bidder was the Book Corner on Main Street. This is the first of 2 extensions under general municipal purchasing law that we can grant. So we'll have those names for you in your next iteration, but those are the apparent low bidders for bids that we need to act on mainly for next year. Local,
Mr. Laurie?
yeah. And
Before you go any further, if you go back to, I think, the second or third, the publication.
Yep.
Did we ever consider maybe instead of just 4 articles a year, that we inform our parents of our children throughout the year, each and every month,
Sure.
what's happening?
Sure.
Because of the fact that we know they're not purchasing the paper. They don't hear it on the radio. They don't see it on TV. And frankly, they don't know about what's happening. And I think it's our responsibility to get it to every single household that these kids come from, because they don't have to pay for it. It's free. If they throw it in the garbage, they do, but let's hope they do not.
Right.
Let's hope they read it and they see articles about their children. They see articles about what we're doing. And this is the only thing I think is best, because we don't have another venue. The Gazette's not the venue. The Buffalo News isn't the venue. Sticking a sheet of paper is not the venue. But that's a venue. When that comes out, it comes out. We gotta. If we don't advertise our school, we're making a mistake.
The answer is yes, and I agree with you. So yes, I will take that up. I don't disagree with you. I agree with you.
Right along what we were thinking.
Yep. Rob?
Quick question regarding the bids. Are we starting to get concerned at all that we're not getting bids? The whole point of the process is to find a low bidder, but it's nice that we have a low bidder in name, but if it's the only bidder, then that's a concern. Are we seeing that across other districts that they're only getting one company to bid on things, and how can we change that?
Can I address him on that?
Sure.
A little bit? I think the main reason, Rob, is that we do not know what our costs are going to be next year. All of us in business who have to purchase things because our dollar keeps changing, our venue keeps changing when we have to buy things, and they're afraid to make that commitment because they can lose their shirt. Yeah. And I think that's why they just don't want to bid it openly for a year. I don't want to bid them anymore. Not the way our prices are going up and freight's going up. You can't control those. It's not your business, but you have to eat it.
Right. Mr. Billson, I really need to have Becky and then Earl chime in. I know Earl's not the purchasing agent any longer, but I think the answer to your question is yes. We put 2 expensive ads in the Gazette for asphalt work at DeFrancesco. And I believe, Beck, they direct solicit, so they send them to particular people.
Correct.
2 times, 0 bids. So I think you're on a bigger scale, I think we were rather lucky with our bids on that capital project. We got a few, not as many as we used to. We kind of lucked out because those bids were good. But my sense is, you're correct, Mr. Bilson and Mr. Kinsami, but the ones that deal with it directly are Becky and Ann Shiro and Earl from his previous life. Did you want to try to address that, Becky?
Well, I think it's the obvious things, like a lot of times it is the non-commitment for a period of time. Because even before, when we had bids awarded, they weren't able to fulfill them then within that time period because things had changed. And it's also a matter, when it's a service, of staffing and availability of labor to, provide the service for us. I know Mrs. Shiro has been to several conferences recently, and if you like, I can see what information she's gathered about this problem within other districts and bring that back to you.
Thanks, Becky. I mean, for me, it's just, business is business, but I think anything we can do as a school district to try to get more people that are interested would be great. I mean, I think I'm able to comment on this because I find it hard to believe that with so many new entrepreneurs and businesses starting, that there would not be individuals or companies that are interested in securing this type of work, especially with, a prominent thing like a school district. So I guess my question is, I know it's not, maybe, I'm assuming it's not an us thing. It's just, what can we do to change that? There have to be people out there that are looking to, I mean, here's just an example. If I hear that 50% of the school districts in Western New York are getting 0 bids on asphalt work, I think I might want to start a company.
Yeah.
And then go out and try to secure business, right? And then take that revenue and then get into other businesses and then use that as references. It just is interesting.
Look at this, 5 bids, 1 bidder. 6th bid, asphalt, no bidders. Earl, did you have a comment or no? I know, Earl.
Earl, you don't have to, I'm good. I feel bad.
No, you're on target.
One of the things, you see it with our capital projects, is the size of our capital projects often prohibit those entrepreneurs that are just starting up. They just don't have the capacity to do the work. There are plenty of pavement contractors out there. Many of them they're not versed in how to pay prevailing wage, how to cover our insurance requirements, and everything else that's mandated by law that we do. So that's one of the reasons why we see so few, is because of the capacity of the size of our jobs. Now, when it comes to the printing things, yeah, there's probably a lot of companies out there, but a lot of them find work easier with smaller jobs. It's always been one of those things, but it has gotten worse since the pandemic. That's for sure. For all of the uncertainty that's in the market, companies do not want to forecast out a year because things are so often so volatile anymore.
If you ever notice on our pay apps, we have to pay Danforth twice because we split the bid, thinking there was some risk there because I didn't want Danforth doing half of it and Danforth doing LaSalle and Company X doing Gaskill, but we were worried about this, and that's why, in our contemplation, we split the bid. I don't think you're wrong. I think we'll ask Becky to follow up with more information on that and get it back to you. But what you're seeing is completely obvious and correct. We're not getting the bidders. And I have yours as a note to adjust, Mr. Kinsemi, because you're right. Not just Tony, but all of us talked about getting the word out and even having the ability to put that document, I'm just using that, put that document, hey, we've done X, Y, Z, B, G, and D. Yeah. Yep. Okay,
What are our liability insurance requirements? 5? 5 million?
Becky Earl?
Does anyone off the top of their head know our liability insurance is 5 million?
It's 5 overall. I think individual occurrence is 2.5, Angelo.
That's not too bad.
It's not real high, but
It's
it's
not too
still,
bad.
you know, you're real little guys.
My little guy, he
Yeah.
doesn't have 5 million
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
Capital projects are much higher.
Well, capital projects, they can't get the bond. Little guy can't get the bond.
I'm talking about the insurance. You asked about the insurance. The requirement in capital projects is much higher than the requirement for the individual contract.
Sure.
That we have. All these contracts that go through the board, checklist shows that the support is liability insurance acceptable to the board, which is usually $1 million per occurrence and $2 million aggregate. I don't know if that's too expensive. Can you look through the microphone? I sure will, Mr. Pence. Let me take a look. If it works.
When I hear from individual bidders, is the bond is very, very difficult to get it on these projects.
Is it on? Yes, sir. I think I said it all, Jim, and that is that in our normal small contracts and even those vendors that you get numerous contracts, I think there's about 15 of them on today's agenda. They all require insurance acceptable to the district, and that usually is $1 million and $2 million aggregate. And that is really not too expensive.
No, it's not.
Right.
It's really not.
Right.
It's not. Excuse me, we used to ask for $1.3 million.
Right.
We've lowered that a little bit to try to help some of our vendors.
That was gonna
From
be my
a,
next
from a
question.
legal standpoint, we've left that to the administrators as to the amount,
Yes.
as long as the insurance is in effect and we
Yeah.
get certificates.
I've allowed 2 and 1, 1 and 2.
Right.
I know the attorneys and others recommend 1 and 3.
That's right.
That was my other question was, as times are changing, or things like Mr. Consemi or Russ mentioned, or Earl, you know, obviously things are getting more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, are we adjusting requirements accordingly? Obviously, you need a minimum requirement, right?
Right.
For various purposes, but, and it sounds like you are, right? You're making,
Yeah, I
you're
always
making
sweat when I
accommodations.
do that, but I have done it many times. I don't know, I have just an overall feeling. You know, I'll just say it. Government gets attacked, school districts get attacked, but yet no one really pays attention to those laws that need to be looked at for procurement and small businesses. They don't. They just roll them over and roll them over and roll them over, and the little guy, little gal gets hurt all the time because they can't keep up. Now, so I have a problem with that. I also have a problem with civil service. They roll over the rules, they roll over the rules. The rules were created in 19 whenever, and it's not advantageous to the worker. I just think that, you know, but yet, all we do is we don't get it bad, but we get criticism because we're not doing it. Why isn't there any attention paid to those kind of opportunities? It's hurting small businesses. It's hurting small vendors. It's hurting small people. And I'm not the attorney for Capital Cleaners, but God, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
Well, you do it in one way that we are doing it. Mr. Bilson is correct. From a legal standpoint, I'm always concerned about one bidder, to make sure that there is nothing out there which frightens a bidder away or allows for bidders to be choosy because of their own benefit. And the only way you can do that, one of the best ways to do that, is what you said, Mr. Superintendent, and that was you put it out, advertise, and at times you actually hand them
Yes.
the bid, and you can't force them to bid.
Right.
So you do your due diligence, but it's so suspect when you continually just have one bidder, to make sure there isn't something that we're doing that gets out there, well, I'm not going to bid against this, the bidder for a school district because that's a done deal. And as far as my looking at it, which I don't mention, I do, but we look at it and we're doing good due diligence, our people,
Yeah,
in
I
trying to
think
get the bidders.
I think
good
so, I think so.
Yeah, it's a good example, but when you get zero, that's a problem.
It is,
yeah.
so we published it twice. It wasn't cheap, by the way. It wasn't cheap. Published it twice, and then we hand it to as many people as we know. There's so much work. They don't want to take a 40. I won't even tell you how much it is. I better not say how much I think the job is, because then we'll get then that's a good way to get a lot of bidders. But it's a real sign of the times, and it's an area that no one pays attention to. Yet the small business person continues to get hurt. I think it's time to look at rules.
I'll let it, I don't want to waste too much time, but I think any kids, I'm serious, like students that want to become an entrepreneur or get into business really should think about, especially if they're going to get into a trade where they would do something. Let's use this asphalt as an example, right? Like, I would wonder if young business person even understands the process of bidding.
Yeah.
Even understands the opportunities that are out there, right? Like these are things that, you know, now I'm going down a path, but you know, we should educate our students on, like, hey,
Yeah.
here's opportunity out there for you to go out and do things like learn how to bid on a project, go and start a company. Anyways,
But unless somebody's gonna bankroll a kid, he's not gonna start out with 20 asphalt trucks and pave a parking lot at high school. So you're not gonna get a small guy to do that. It takes time. You know,
No, but
that's
they
all I'm
could-
saying. But
yeah, you're
I
right.
understand, but build it up. But nobody's gonna start out at the top and work down.
I think everyone missed the point. They don't want to do that work. It's hot, it stinks, it's dirty, and it's physical. That's the whole bottom line with this economy, is the Generation Z, Y, whatever the hell they are.
Just in time for you to walk.
They don't want to work. That's the bottom
They
line.
don't want to.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, glad you walked in a little late on the conversation. The conversation, Mr. Capizzi, it was initiated by Mr. Bilson around the fact that we're following all the rules, we're doing everything according to general municipal bidding law, and we're getting so few to no bidders on some of our bids. And it's starting to be, Mr. Bilson initiated that could be a concern. We're not doing anything wrong, but we're just not getting competition. And my point is some of the rules are really hurting small businesses and aren't being looked at the right way.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And 20 minutes ago, you almost all got a text to do this meeting in my kitchen because I was having so many troubles. And it's just ongoing every day. And it's gotten to the point in small business where we can't compete. And where there's this income disparity where the bigs are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and they could outpay us all on wages. And if you drive down Niagara Falls Boulevard, you see 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and they're all fighting for the same small pool of workers. And you're gonna see 2, 3, 4 of them close up as time goes on. And Russ, I'm sure you could even go for this too, where Empower, you know, when I was doing some work there last year, you have 300 employees there, approximately. There was an article or a letter going around to all your houses that saying if you don't make $44,500, it's better to just quit, not work, and go off government subsidiaries.
That is true, Mark.
Yeah, and I remember that because I was, you know, in a few of the houses saying, are you guys crazy or what?
It's worth about 35 to 40,000 to sit home in New York State.
So, good conversation. I just want to foreshadow something, good conversation. I want to foreshadow something, because Becky and I have started to talk about this. In October, both of our bus contracts, Niagara Falls Coach Lines and for student, we're going to put an RFP out in October, to your point. When there's no competition, it's not a good thing. And I'm worried about that. So we'll talk to you more about that bid. That's true. You could take a couple cars. Yeah. But the point is going to be exacerbated during that bid. We have to do it. We're going to bid it, but I'm worried because of what you started the conversation.
And I would take into account too, Mark, I study this stuff and this is how I invest. If you look underneath it, the country was set up before COVID for 3 demographics. You got the baby boomers, you got Generation X, you got the millennials and Z, okay? As soon as COVID hit, the largest group, the baby boomer says, I'm done, I had it, the stock market went up, I got some money, I don't get along with the younger people. But you have the entire economy based around 3 generations. And arguably, anybody under 21 isn't doing any of the brick and mortar. So you have Generation X, you know, my generation, our generation, which is the smallest demographic, but an economy for 3 people, or 3 generations. So within 5 years, I want to say that you'll see half of them close up and done.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Rob. On that happy note.
Yeah, a lot of it doomed everybody. Hey, folks out there, you know, it's not that.
I look at it like it's a message to the youth of every district to think about ways to become an entrepreneur and create business.
Mark, excuse me, Rob, our state took all that away. Our state never pushed trades, never pushed entrepreneurism. They want to send everyone into college and be a genius. And that's what happened.
I feel like I'm glad you said that, but I think as a district, I feel like we do our part in the opposite of what you said. I think I was talking to Pareto about the electric trade, right? The electrician trade. You know, if you think about, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I mean, you think about it, what I would tell my kids, what I do tell my son is everybody's going, you've said this many times, right? There's going to come a point where, you know, we can't find, and if I'm using the wrong terminology, I apologize, but general laborers, builders, craftsmen, but electricians, plumbers, you know, you go out and you're an apprentice somewhere, or whatever the right terminology is, Tony, right? We talked about this, and you become an electrician, and you learn the trade, and you work for somebody, and you go out and start your own electric company. Right, there was a teacher on Facebook shared, one of our students just started his own company. He's an electrician, probably did the same thing, and it looks like he's doing very well. I don't know him personally, but I mean, to your point, Russ, luckily our district, and I'm sure there's others, put a focus on trades. Yeah. And I think that if we also, in addition to that, maybe I don't know if this is the vision of it, but maybe change the vision. If the vision's, well, I'm going to be an electrician, or I'm going to be a plumber, or I'm going to be, well, no, what you're going to be is you're going to be a highly sought after technician in an industry that everyone will need in the future. So go learn it and then start your own business and become the next Fry Electric, or become the next M&M or J.R. Swanson Plumbing or whatever.
Let me just tell you real quick. I told Mark earlier during this conversation.
Microphone.
Got an email from my business agent, all right? The email was going out to all retirees, even though I'm not at I'm close. I'll be 58 next week, but the whole point is.
You retired a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. The whole thing is, they don't have we haven't even gone, the big jobs aren't even here yet. They're barely broke ground. This company's taking people to the stadium. There's, CIR's got a ton of schoolwork, even though they don't have our stuff.
Right.
But here's the whole thing. I'm like, man, where's the jobs at? I talked to another fella. The whole point is, you young people that are listening, if there's parents, please, it's an honorable thing to do. You get a little dirty, but it ain't that bad, and you go out and journeyman fitters, journeyman electrician, $42 to $45 an hour. That's not only what they're gonna make. There's more, because there's medical and there's retirement. So it's $100 an hour. Where the heck are you gonna go? And let me tell you, I got 3 kids, 3 college degrees, one of them's using it. The other 2 aren't. Because my son's sitting there waiting. They're not gonna knock your door down to come give you a job. You gotta go take that job.
It's just another reason why Pathways is great for the school too, right? We're finding ways to help these kids. And anyways, this is great, by the way. This is a great conversation.
Well, I'm going to say two things, and then I'm going to ask to move on. Because we're only on the first thing I'll say is it's really funny. We attended an electric bus meeting, and I'll talk about that in my legislative updates, but who is going to build all the stations? Where, you talk about jobs, where are they going to build all these charging stations? Who are the people that are going to do it and meet the 2035 deadline? Find them. You just told, we're not, so I kept saying, because I'll again tell you in a minute, they shut the legislation down to extend the electric bus thing. I'm fine with it, but who's going to build those stations? Second thing, and last thing, I appreciate the trades. Not every student should go to college. We've been saying that, and I appreciate your recognition of it, Rob. But I will tell you this, we all need them. People, maybe not like the skilled craftsman of Mr. Pareto, but as I've said many times, I have 3 tools in my toolbox: a hammer, a screwdriver, and a checkbook. And I don't know how to use 1 or 2. So I am continually writing checks. And what am I going to do, you know? All right, how about that to segue out of it?
Man, we did good. Oh.
Treasury report, budget status report. Maria, could you give me some relief? Could you bring up personnel reports? I just need to take a little, I need to take a little break. Maria will be. Yeah, it started with 5 retirements. We've got 17 now.
Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Not a bad one, Nick. Not bad.
Hey, all right.
Not bad, Nick.
All I know is we talk so much, I'm out of water. This is the meat and potatoes. Year.
Oh, I had mine today, Maria. This is yours. This is yours, Maria.
Maria.
Maria, you're always invited. You have too much work to do. I chained Maria to her desk so she couldn't come to my Super Bowl party.
That's okay. Cinderella did her work. So let's talk about the certificated report, because this is the report that we've all been waiting for, and this is the time of year that we get to it. We did get 1 retirement. We may get a few more. If you'll notice, this retirement is for June 30, 2024. I anticipate we may get some more for this year, and then we'll begin to get the ones that are giving us 1-year notice for next year.
Right.
The first items that you're going to begin to see are the probationary appointments. They begin at Roman numeral number 3. I won't go through all of them, but you can see Mr. Laurie has been very busy looking at our current staff, talking to our administrators, and deciding who he was going to recommend to you begin probationary beginning in September. That'll take you.
Just a point here, Maria, because I want to emphasize 2 things. Number 1, these are effective September 1st.
They say July 1 for
Yeah.
purposes of continuity after their contract of June 30th.
Right.
But it starts
Because they're already
September.
working.
Right.
And also on the ones that do not have appropriate residency, the clock starts on them.
Correct.
Okay? And to those listening, this iteration, these are plugging in the holes for next year. We're not done yet. Maria and I have this new system. We meet for 1 hour every day, and we don't have any byplay. We just work. We don't solve world problems. We don't talk about anything, but we fill in the personnel report.
Quick question. Do the folks know anything about these yet?
No.
Good question.
Mr. Preto, that's a very good question.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry.
No,
You-
good.
You know, just because, hopefully, you know, they'll know soon, right? I mean, they have to wait till the 20?
Yes.
What we're trying to do, Mr. Preto, is first of all, letting you all see Mr.
Right.
Laurie's recommendations, right? That's number 1. Number 2, just this afternoon, and I haven't even had a chance to share it, I had a call from a principal asking for some additional change. Actually, I had a call from 2 principals asking for some additional changes. So this document is really fluid right now, and I hate to start to make phone calls and then have to take them back and make.
So what I would ask is this. Thanks for bringing it up. What I would ask is this. This has not been voted on. It's got 2 weeks to sit. It may change. These people do not know. This is a personnel document. We're not going to read names. But what we want to show you is we're starting to make our moves so that we have a full staff. I want to have a staff that is 90% full on June 20th. I want to have a staff that is 95% full on July 2nd. Then we'll spend the rest of the summer with 5%. But you're right, Tony, thank you. Please, this is not voted on, so it's not official. And secondly, Maria, thank you for saying this. You as board members have a right to see these names before they're voted on. So if you say, Mark, what is this? I have a chance to say, okay. So please don't share it.
So, moving on to Roman numeral number 4, these are the beginnings of our regular substitute appointments. And again, these are the folks who are coming in, and you'll see names underneath their grade level and school appointments. And those folks are our teachers on special assignment, and the folks that you're seeing as regular substitutes are in for those teachers on special assignment. So that's going to take you pretty far down through the report. As I mentioned before, there are some names that will be switching around. Coming to page 9 of 22 under Roman numeral 5, this is a person who reached a 60-day conversion during this current school year. Roman numeral number 7, you're going to see the involuntary transfers. Mr. Laurie has been working on the voluntaries, but the involuntaries occur when a classroom closes in a school and a teacher is accessed out of that classroom. They go onto a list and they get to pick from any available vacancies. The teachers on the involuntary transfer list all picked these assignments themselves by their contract, per their contract. The voluntary transfers, go ahead, did you want to punctuate? Okay.
Keep going, you're rolling.
The voluntary transfers, which begin on page 10, those folks have to submit a voluntary transfer request to the Human Resources Office by May 1st every year. And then what happens is Mr. Laurie reviews them, the principals are advised, the principals of the school that they're leaving are advised that they're asking to leave, and then Mr. Laurie makes a final determination regarding the voluntary transfer request.
Remember, Russ, we talked about this, I think, Russ, on the voluntary. I just want to let you know, Maria received 16 voluntary transfer requests. These are current teachers, probationary teachers, wishing to go to another location or different grade level. As of today, we have filled, because I believe people should go where they want to work if we can do it. 14 of the 16 were approved. There is one that I just don't think we're going to be able to approve, and one that Maria is still working on. So the point in telling you that is that we're trying to give people what they want, because a person working where they want, in the grade level they want, I would think would be a happier and more productive teacher.
Okay.
I think am I in the wrong page?
He submitted a voluntary transfer request.
Okay.
11, page 11
Oh, I got it,
of
okay, yeah,
22.
voluntary transfer request, yep.
He voluntarily, he or she, let me say, voluntarily asked to transfer. I spoke to both principals, and they agreed. I saw no reason to not grant it.
If one of the principals did not agree, would you okay the transfer then?
I would put them through the paces of telling me the reasons, and I would not grant it. Unless I thought the reason was frivolous.
Yeah, I understand.
No, as a matter of fact, Mr.
The
Velardo.
same was on our, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
before we approved these, Maria or I called everybody, right? And
I spoke to everybody, I did, and I know you did too. You spoke to the majority, but I did call everybody before I even brought them to you.
yeah, I spoke to not all of them. That's Maria's job. I spoke to many of them.
Okay, we have a teacher returning from leave, which we're very pleased about. And then the next are, gosh, a whole lot of per diem, summer assignments, and Schedule B that we're going to be doing over the summer. We also have some schedules D, E, F, and G listed there for you as well. There's a lot going on in the summer, you know, believe it or not. Mr. Corella keeps everyone busy. And they're very thankful that they
The
are.
only thing I'd make, add to that point is, on those, look at the letter. If it's F, it's paid for by a grant. If it's F, if it's F, it's paid for by a grant. If it's not F, it's paid by your general fund.
Any questions? Okay, so the classified report is much smaller. You'll usually start to see your classified report grow in July and August. We're doing our best for June, but June is creeping away from us. So I'm sorry, Mr. Velardo. I didn't do that on purpose. I apologize. Anyway, you see we're having some retirements. A couple of noteworthy ones. We're losing some great employees here, if you look.
Oh, my God, yeah.
A cleaner, a secretary one, and a senior general repairer. We're really going to miss that, as well as our school monitor lunch.
Those
person.
four are top-notch
Yeah, they're
people.
top-notch people. They're
My God,
top-notch folks.
top-notch.
Yeah. And we're sad to see them go, but we're happy that they're ready to move to the next phase. Temporary appointments you're seeing at the Roman numeral number 6, and then change of status, there'll be more added on for the rest. I don't know if we'll have additional voluntary and involuntary transfers, because we might not get that completed, but we will have additional classified staff appointments on the next report.
Yeah. So as Mr. Pareto said, confidential and fluid, not done, not to be shared because you never voted on it. See Maria or myself if you have a question or a concern, and we'll try to answer it, or I'll take it under consideration. Number 2, there will be asterisks because our next staffing meeting, Maria and myself, is 10 o'clock Monday. I would say on the instructional side, right now, 75% done, maybe 80%. You give me a number.
I'm going to go with 75, only because, not because we need to find them, but we need to do some more involuntary transfers
Yeah.
in our special area staff.
Yeah. Update on positions we're looking for. Maria and I met on this morning. We could use, we think we have another second language person in the hopper.
Yes, we do.
We think we found, guess what? Somebody who was laid off from another district is interested in coming to us.
We're excited about it, too. I heard she's fantastic. Mr. Ruffalo isn't here anymore, but I heard she's a fantastic teacher, so
Yeah.
can't wait to meet her.
She got, unfortunately, laid off because of ARP funds, and she wants to come to Niagara Falls, second language. Maria is doing a bang-up job with school psychologists.
Yeah, we're working there.
So the 2 areas of concern, secondary prep school science, I think we're 1 or 2 short right now.
Right now, it looks like 1, potentially 2 short.
And right now in science, 1, potentially 2 in science across the district. The area that we need some work on is secondary special ed. Elementary, I think we're really good. Secondary special ed, if we had open school tomorrow, we wouldn't be ready. We would need some secondary special ed. So
We're having a bit of a baby boom in our special ed department, so
well,
those are good things. It's a real good thing.
So thank you for that, Maria. It's not just finding
Right.
the teachers. I don't know how to say this appropriately. Our special education teachers in general seem to be blessed with pregnancy.
And we're
God
happy
bless
about
them.
that. We're very happy about it.
God bless them. But in addition to trying to get teachers, we have a lot going on maternity leave, which is great, right? It's great. More kids coming, it's great. But I would say that we're at 75% and not 85% because we've got some work to do in secondary special ed. That is honesty, such a lonely word. Everyone is so untrue. Honesty, that was a song lyric.
Mostly what I need from you. Thank you.
Maria, what's the main way that you're posting with job openings? Is it school website?
No, we're posted on, we do use our website, but we're posted on the Western New York Winnie Rig application tracker. So it is a place where all teachers in Western New York know to go when they're looking for a job. And we have that service through the RIC, the Regional Information Center, and we buy it through BOCES. That's an Erie One, right? That's an Erie One BOCES service. And so it's become the only place that teachers know to go when they're looking for a position. So all of our spots are posted there. Yeah, there's a program there that we're buying into that we actually piloted. We and 2 other districts in the area, actually 3 other districts in the area. I can't just claim it for us. It's called the STARS program. And what it is it's a substitute and temporary service that BOCES is offering where they actually train the subs too. So we actually get STARS applicants, and those applicants can be clerical, maintenance, nursing. They come to that service now and they call it STARS. So we're really happy we pilot it. We had some good success, and now of course it's going to cost some money, so Ray and Becky found some money for us to buy into that program too. And the good thing about that too is a lot of people don't know, Winnie Rick and this STARS are automatically connected to Indeed. So when you post your job here, it automatically goes on to Indeed, which is another really good thing. Now, we still have our website, we still do the postings in the school, we still put the postings out in district, but because we have those 2 services, people know to go there, and they also go out to Indeed. So.
To Mr. Capizzi's point, Earl, how are you set in maintenance? Are we missing a lot of positions? I just want to follow up.
Depending on how a couple of changes go, the one senior general repairer that you have in front of you will be looking to replace that position with a general repairer at this time. And then we have an open position in what we call our pipe shop, our HVAC shop too. And depending on the outcome of another potential change, we could be looking for an electrician.
You ready yet, Mr. Pareto?
The interview is going to be really tough if he comes. Really tough. So we're short about 3 in the maintenance area.
Yeah, we're getting there. Earl and I met the other day,
All right.
and we met with Ryan the other day. We have some work to do as far as like a big posting we're looking to put out for some moves and transfers.
How about kitchen, Maria?
I talked to Kevin just the other day. We have a big posting for them because we have a retirement of a 12-month cook. That retirement of a 12-month cook is going to cause one of our current 10-month cooks to bump up to 12-month, and then we're going to need to supplement our 10-month cook staff.
So probably 2 in the cooking area?
2 in the cook area, yep. Nursing is okay, we can always use nurses.
Yeah, nurse is, we've hired nurses left and right because of the needs. We could use a nurse or 2 more.
We could use it, even if we took in a few LPNs,
Yeah.
we could take in a couple of LPNs, and then that gives our nursing staff a little relief. We had a difficult week this week,
We did.
but they're okay, but we had a difficult week this week. We have some long-term illnesses. We have 2 nurses on that wonderful unified trip, and we had an unfortunate death in somebody's family,
So now, look at this. We send the kids to Florida, great. We have to send 2 nurses, 2 of our nurses there with them. So what does that do? That creates an automatic 2 nurse vacancy. And then somebody unfortunately has a passing,
Yeah.
and that's going to be a couple days, so we can always use nurses.
Yeah.
I think 3 in the maintenance department, 2 in the cooking department, nurses we could use, secretaries were good.
Right now, we're good, but we have some movement that we have,
Okay.
because we have that retirement, so we have some movement in our clerical staff. Yeah, I think, and again, it kind of comes up and down because we've got people that need to go on long-term leaves, and we look to see how we're going to fill them. But as far as the retirements and vacancies that we've received as of this time today, those are the openings that we know we have.
People were saying, we just need to look for minority teachers. Hey, we got a lot of positions where minorities can work.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So we should not always be knocked and blamed for not hiring Black minority teachers. We got, it's right here proof. We have positions that we can look for minorities.
Yes, we do.
And looking at this personnel report, we pay darn good money.
Yep.
So, hey, I'm all for hiring minorities all across the board, not just teachers.
Right, we're looking
Right.
too. And you know, when you see, you know, Mr. Laurie was making a comment the other day, Mrs. Dunn, and this is just to your point, this isn't just in one area. You're going to see when we bring you a certain section of our certificated staff, there's been a very concerted effort in that area, and I think we've done a pretty good job. We don't have them on tonight because we had to kind of call a little bit of a halt because there's some more movement that we have to do there. I think you know what I'm talking about.
do.
You mentioned it the other day. I don't want to call the department out, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
Yeah, but and not only that, they're getting what we call Ps,
Yeah.
probationary jobs.
Probationary
They're not regular
positions.
subs. Probationary jobs, those are, as Mr. Petrosi likes to say, $2 million careers. Probably more.
And what you saw this evening with our Seal of Biliteracy and the students that you saw in
Yep.
front of you, we are making a very conscious effort to hire staff that look like them too. And we've done a pretty good job. I was just talking to Mr. Laurie about this today. We've done a really pretty good job with our associate staff in doing that. We're still
Yeah.
looking for teachers. Obviously, we'd love to have teachers reflective of that as well, but our associate staff is certainly.
It's wonderful to see those students Seal by literacy, but as well as black and brown students. We have to have staff that looks like our Seal by literacy children too. And we have done a good job, especially in the associate level, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Maria. I'm going to move on. Only one short-term contract. This is for the prom next year, not this year. Remember, this is paid for by the class's fundraising, but they like to sign a contract early. It's at the convention center. That's for next year. We have a lot of resolutions, and I'm going to go through them, and if I'm going too fast, halt me. But I'm going to summarize this in one way. Dr. Sean Daly gave us two beautiful musical instruments. Yes, beautiful instruments. Oh, we want to thank him. We received $56,490 more from the federal government to pay bonuses to our Head Start teachers. You know, our Head Start teachers are on a different pay scale. Right. They're on a lesser pay scale, but this is called the cost of living adjustment. And Maria, Becky, and Richard are putting together a equal pay scale to use $56,000 that we got to help support the Head Start teachers' pay. 03, 04, and 05, yeah.
In our contract. Far away?
They're far, Maria. Microphone.
The teaching staff is not as far away from some of our earlier steps in our teaching salary schedule, but the other staff members are looking to get a better increase.
So the teachers are closer, not there.
Not
Teachers-
there, but closer.
They're closer. The non-teachers, the
Aides
certificate,
and-
yeah, they're not close to us. So what happens, Mr. Consemi, to your point is, those associates would rather come to our openings first, and we have to backfill Head Start. That's the problem with Head Start is, and run by a district that we learned is, they're all, and I don't blame them, they're always looking to the district to work. And it's hard to keep continuity in Head Start because the contracts are different. So they're looking to get to the district. Does that make sense? So we have a lot of turnover because there is a pay discrepancy. Even with this $56,000, it's not going to bridge the gap enough. But it's something, and we'll take it. 603 through 605, this is the actual filing on those safety plans that we've presented to you for 3 months. 606 is the nicer insurance rates. I believe you remember, I hope you remember, that during the budget, we told you that these rates went up I said we predicted 13% in the budget. This is actually a 12.18 increase in the property casualty insurance. Becky, Maria, you're on this. What do you got, Beck?
Okay, yes, the nicer insurance did come in at 12.18 increase over the current year. That also came though with some changes in a couple areas of our coverage, the limits in our coverage, which we're plugging in those holes with, we're getting quotes to plug in those holes from other carriers. But our excess workers' compensation insurance is the star of this resolution, and it came in almost 46% lower than our current year. We got a real favorable proposal
On
from
the excess workers' comp?
Yes.
Oh,
46%.
yep. Excess workers' comp. Yep, because, well, because our loss runs are so good. Oh, don't think I didn't talk about Standard & Poor's about that today. That's unheard of. That's really attributable to Becky, Maria, and the staff members. We're doing very well with our workers' comp. And there's somebody who insisted on fully funding workers' comp, which was a good move. And I know he wants to tell me so. So we got a good deal there. We got a good deal on that.
Yes. Now, we had to accept their proposal for 2 years. And so we're actually locked in at that. Pardon? I know, right? So we're locked in for 2 years. But with that comes like a new application and stuff. So, yeah, we're all working on that, getting that completed. And the basic insurance has come in as expected for like the crime and the pupil benefits for students and that. So overall, the increase was mitigated. The overall increase was mitigated by that favorable excess workers' comp.
Again, I'll say it, not a lot, but it helps cut into the need to use 6.2 million if you're following us. That's all good money to us. It's all good, it all adds up. I'll talk about that more in a minute. I want to skip.
Mark, one question.
Yeah.
You can say yes or no with this. Is cybersecurity a requirement of a government entity?
Go ahead, Becky.
A requirement for us to have cyber security?
I've just never seen it, so I was curious about it.
Well, we have coverage within our nicer general liability coverage, and then we also do purchase additional coverage through its right management group, and it's Arch is the insurer.
But it is a requirement.
See, I don't know what the requirement is.
It's not mandatory. It was one of the recommendations. Ray, you could jump in. It was one of the recommendations that was made, and it's under 2D, right? I mean, just please, Ray. I don't
Let me
wanna-
try and Ray, take the details because this is how I learn. It's not mandated, Mike. I think it's wise. And when we got audited by our internal auditors, not the external, they made a strong recommendation for us to do it, right?
Yeah, they provided guidelines which we followed, which made us eligible for that insurance, because it's not easily attainable.
So it will cover a data breach of personal information that may lead to theft?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I think it's money well spent. I think it's money well spent. Let me tell you, it's not easy to get that. The only way they could get it is because of Ray's work and his team and all the things he does. It wasn't easy, right? Ray, talk a second about that.
No, we had 4 separate scaled interviews. Becky and I sat in, and every interview came with a higher level of expectations with the different skill sets of the people that we're interviewing. So between the internal audit was provided, some other audits, and their guidance, we're in a really good spot.
So we're purchasing it, but it's a cost. I want to skip, with your permission, to 09 and 10. And I'm going to get Rick ready, so if we can get Rick the microphone. 09 and 10 are to ask you next 2 weeks from now to approve a new math curriculum. And what I'd like to tell you about it is, Rick is the leader of curriculum. He's the assistant superintendent for curriculum, and I trust him implicitly with it. But it's not just Rick who says, hey, I like that. We're gonna do it because something Rick likes or some salesperson came to him. Rick has to formulate, Rick always starts with pilots, multiple options, teacher recommendations, committee recommendations, and then by contract a vote. Rick, through his leadership, is recommending that we purchase a new math curriculum called iReady. Rick, could you take it from there?
Certainly. We renew our math resources usually every 5 to 7 years. The last time that we renewed was in 2017. So we started the process about 18 months ago. We review state standards, best practices, research, and then we take a look at multiple resources that are available. We seat a committee of teachers and we narrow down the options to a few, which, as Mr. Laurie said, we piloted this school year, starting in September, and then we made our final selections in April and May. The grades kindergarten through 6 opted for the iReady resource from a company called Curriculum Associates, and the 7th grade teachers chose a resource called Into Math from HMH, or Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. That this resource that they've chosen for grade 7 is kind of a next generation of what they're currently using now. So we vetted and piloted 3 resources in grade 7. Grade 8, we renewed last year, and they are aligned with high school and algebra. And so this will really complete and update all of our mathematics resources, and then afterward, after everything is adopted and purchased, then we align our curriculum documents to make the uses of make the use of the resources easier. So this will kind of be the final phase that will situate us well for the next 5 to 7 years.
Thanks, Rick. 607 and 608 are for next year. These are for grants.
I got a question before that, Rick. Mr. Corella, Superintendent Corella, I forgot. Hey, I got a question. Are the kids going to be able to add 2 and 2 and get to 4? And are they
Well,
gonna be
I
able to write
think
a
we
check?
get better at that every year.
Are they
We get
able to
better
write
at
a
that
check?
every
Are they
year.
going to be able to function in everyday life? Because between the X plus 2s and the minus the Ys, they can't work a cash register. I mean.
Well, I think that what you'll like about this resource is that it emphasizes mental mathematics, okay, such as making change, and it also has an aligned assessment with it that will give our teachers very specific data about the skills that students have mastered and where they still need to become proficient. So I'm very pleased with this choice.
All right, are we going to have time for them to do that? Do they have time, the teachers, in following the curriculum? Following the curriculum?
I'm sorry?
Will they have time to go into those specialties and work with the students independently to get them up to skill level?
Yes, and what we're seeing now in most products is that they have what we typically call AIS or RTI products built within them, and they're often digital. So there are good options for remediation in addition to the core resources that every student needs to use to get to the standards. There are also sub-pieces to the resource which our teachers can easily pull from when students are having issues and need extra practice.
Going back to 607 and 608, these are for grant evaluators. These are paid for through the grant. This is via grant services and NMG grant services. All those grants, remember the F-code grid, they all have a requirement to be evaluated by an outside evaluator. And these 2 resolutions provide the payment to those 2 outside evaluation companies. One is called VIA, the other is called NMG, to be outside evaluators to make sure we're following the grant.
And they get $52,000 for that?
The one, it's based on the amount of money that the grant is worth. 608, that's for 6 grants. That is to evaluate the mental health support, mental health services, 21st century, P-TECH, and FSIP. So it's a total amount of money out of the grant to pay for the evaluation. We're not paying for it. We got the grant money and said we would hire a grant evaluator. It's about 10% of the grant. I'm going to move to 611 and tell you that this is a requirement. Talk about bids, Mr. Bilson. We have a pre-K program. We're supposed to put out an RFP to get community-based organizations to run pre-K programs, up to 10% of the award. We've put it out year after year after year. We get 1 bid. And the bid comes from the LaSalle Early Childhood Center. So because of the way the grant is written, they get 10% of our 1 grant, which is $218,567. That's the way the grant's written. We have to pay it out. Now, if we got 2 bids and had 2 centers, we'd cut it in half. But I guess it's going with the theme of the night. We had 1 bid. Okay, 612. Yes. Sure. 612 through 632. Well, there's one exception. I'll pull it out in a minute. All of these are for programs over the summer. Every one of these programs, with 2 exceptions, is paid for by a grant. Everyone except 2 of the 25 resolutions is paid for by a grant. So they're all F codes. The 2 that are not paid for by a grant is the aquarium, and that's coming out of Rick's budget, $450, and Explore and More, which is $650. So out of all the summer programs, and I could go through, and people, from Master Ketchens, Ralph Wilson, well, that's Explore More, that doesn't count. Makita Brooks, Marsha McWilson, Horizon, Black Excellence, all the way through are paid for by grants. They're purposed and paid for by grants. 631. 631 is something that we applied for and have taken on, and Russ, I'm sure you'll understand this one because you deal with this in one of your other boards. Niagara County is supposed to provide early intervention for speech and other services for pre-handicapped kids. Since the county doesn't have teachers, we applied to be what's called a 4410. We are a 4410 district now. We had to apply for it, applied a couple years. This allows us to use our teachers and charge the county back for the service our teachers give. It's really the responsibility of the county to provide it, but they're not able to hire teachers. They just can't find them. So what we've done with our 4410, and that's number 631, is we've applied, we are a 4410 school district. We provide the service with our speech teachers, but we bill the county back for the money. That's what 631 is. Is that correct, guys?
And part of the reason for 631, some of the ratios, it's really an amendment.
Okay, it's an amendment, because the rates are changed. $633 through 636. These are payments for capital projects. HVAC, Johnson Controls, in the capital projects or ARP projects. You had a presentation on these. We certified all of the work through our process. 637 and 638. We haven't brought this to you in 2 years, I believe, Maria, but we have 2 claims for personal property damage to cars. And what we've done is, for these individuals, we followed the NFT contract to pay for tree branches that have damaged cars. Maria, could you give more information here?
I can. It was the same incident that damaged both vehicles, and it was a city tree that fell, and actually a big limb from one city tree, and it damaged both vehicles. Both of the teachers that you see listed here followed the process exactly. They got their insurance quote, they filed their police reports, they provided us with pictures, and we are paying only the limit that we're required to pay per contract. So I am confident in recommending to Mr. Laurie that he place this on the report, and I hope Mr. Laurie is confident in recommending to you that you approve it.
640, well, that might be 6,
Question.
go ahead, yeah, go ahead, Earl.
Was there any type of conversation between the district and the city?
I did not have it. I don't know if, are you talking about the tree removal and everything?
Yes.
No, I didn't have it, and I don't believe that Earl did either, unless.
No, I only had a conversation, when the initial call came in, I called DPW and said, hey, we got a tree down adjacent to Maple Avenue School. And I went and I just sat there with the cop at that time to make sure that nothing, no other cars were
Do we have any,
involved.
Yeah. Because like, if I was a private citizen and a city tree fell on my car, I would, I would expect the city to cover it. I'm not saying that these teachers didn't do what they were supposed to do. What I'm saying is the city should be making it the district whole, because that's on them.
Yeah, I don't know how to debate you, Earl, because I agree with you.
I think you're making a really good point. I don't think we have a mechanism in place, but I don't know, I wouldn't say that we wouldn't contact the city to get reimbursed for what we're gonna be out per our contract, but we just don't have a current mechanism in place to do that.
do we,
Earl, excuse me, Earl, I can't argue your point, because I think you're right. No, it was a city tree.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'll use Maple Avenue as a reference, but I'm sure that
It's a good one.
Yes, but I'm sure that but I do want to make sure on the record I'm stating this goes for any city tree near any one of our schools. But do we have any power to have a conversation with the city to get some of these clearly damaged already trees removed or trimmed, so that maybe, I can confidently say that, maybe not confidently, but my assumption is that there are some trees on Maple Avenue or the surrounding areas that have some really dangerous branches that could fall and knock out power. I know we have generators, but knock out power to the schools, could fall on other vehicles because teachers do park on the street, which is okay. Like, do we have any recourse to have conversations with the city about expediting the process of removing those trees? Maple is terrible. I mean, it's bad. There's every time there's wind, those trees. I'm going to tell you something right now that I'm worried about. Honestly, is one of those branches falling on a kid walking home from school. I mean, Mark, they're bad.
Both you and Mr. Bass raised good points. I will begin the conversation tomorrow at 1:45 at City Hall, where I have an already scheduled meeting.
I also might suggest
You're right.
that when you see these trees, and they are potentially dangerous, that we write letters to the city and put them on notice.
It's a good point.
I think we should.
Including pictures.
No, I know.
We should definitely, yeah, that's great, Angelo. We should probably, to do it the right way, maybe do an assessment of all trees around all of our schools, but, you know, only because I'm there every day. I mean, Maple's bad. Didn't we have a situation, Earl, where a tree fell on the fencing by the Maple Avenue playground as well and damaged the fencing? Am I losing my mind? I think that was the case, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Billson, I want to believe that was just before the pandemic, sometime around 2019. We did have, and some of the surface was damaged as well
Yeah.
of the playground. And I think Angelo's spot on, because my understanding of the process is what we would do is go around. I don't know that I want to mark the trees, but I would definitely think we would write a certified letter to the city corporation council and say, look, we're concerned about these.
So you would have to identify the tree in some way.
Of course. Yeah.
The tree in front of address 14, 15.
Ex-
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
By the way, I'm not trying to create more work for anybody, so I apologize
Earl's
if I did,
got
but
plenty of time.
I do think it's,
I don't do anything.
I do think it's something we should look at.
Well, I'll tell you this, any district property, we have an agreement with the CSEA union because we don't have the total capacity to cut some big trees down. But you spent $14,000 last summer on dangerous trees on our property, and we did, and had them all trimmed and taken back, even some that were kind of not on our property because of what you said. So my plan would be, I have a meeting tomorrow at 1:45. I'm going to give notice of that, and then I think the attorneys are right. Earl and his team need to circulate the city by our schools only, and provide a comprehensive list along with a photo that we have on record and that we send to City Hall. But I will tell you, I am going to give them notice that that's what we're doing. I'm going to give them notice tomorrow that that's what we're doing, because this is about $5,000 of district money we're spending. And the potential for what you described, Mr. Bilson, cars can be replaced, kids can't. I do. It is. It's one of our more difficult places, but we've got a few other places too, Earl. Do you think anywhere else? I don't know, I'm thinking about Man 79, I don't know, we'll have to go through it. Can't do it in my head right now, but we'll go through it. Earl, on one of his many days of free time during the summer, will have a good time doing that.
Real quick, let me just springboard real quick on that. Is it possible that in some of these areas, like Maple, if there isn't enough parking spots, can we at least look at, you know, increasing the square area of the parking lot so that some of these people don't have to park on the street? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And then Gaskill is a
No,
prime-
Gaskill's the one,
And
Tony.
Hyde Park right there.
Gaskill and Hyde Park are the two.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that and there's hardly any parking lot.
I have an idea about Gaskill. I will bring it forth to you. I have an
Okay.
idea. I have a surface lot idea about Gaskill on church property that we could probably negotiate with, and that would alleviate Gaskill. I don't have a ready answer for you at Hyde Park.
No, I'm just saying, you know, because, yeah, it's unfortunate, and I don't know how, and I see Maple's area, but it might be just
No.
a tad too small.
Gaskill is,
possibly.
especially in the winter, Gaskill's always been a
It's
problem.
horrible.
I do have an idea for Gaskill. We haven't had any conversation about it. Hyde Park's a problem, and I will tell you, because Maria's aware of this, because I've had many conversations with this parent. We had quite a difficult parent situation that we were dealing with because of parking around Hyde Park. It all stemmed from not having parking, and it got blown up into a major problem that I'm still dealing with. So, yes, the answer is yes. Hyde Park, I'm going to tell you, Gaskill, I have an idea. Hyde Park, I need some
They're
thinking.
landlocked.
They are really landlocked. I was thinking about drive up to the roof, on the roof parking area.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Mark, one more thing, sorry.
Yeah,
I'll
that's all right.
keep it brief. Since we're on the topic, since you're gonna bring it up anyways to the city, we may wanna also look at, I'm assuming it's their responsibility, but any paths or walking areas that families or children are walking on, sidewalks that might be damaged from trees already or other areas. And just to make it known for YouTube viewers, I'm sure there are many other sidewalks that need assistance from the city as well, so I'm just speaking specifically to school district.
Well, that's your
items at
sphere
the
of
moment.
influence, the school district.
If you walk up Macroon Avenue from College to Maple where the kids walk, there's sidewalks that are up at least 3 inches.
Yeah. Worse than that is around Abbott, and it's difficult for some handicapped individuals, followed by, we have that issue at another school as well. I can't think of where it is, but yes, I will bring that up. I'll bring it up. Earl had some dogged work to get Kelfus rectified. Remember?
I certainly do.
Because I called him 20 times.
Yes, I do.
But I think that got rectified.
That did get rectified, and that was in keeping with what Mr. Bilson and Mr. Consimi are referring to. It was a lifted sidewalk due to a city tree adjacent to it, and the roots lifting it and making it, plainly put, a tripping hazard.
Yeah, well, they can do it another way too. I mean, they can cut around it and make it a path some other way, unless they go on somebody's property, without taking the whole tree down. But I'll tell you, I had the trees go through my house twice. And they're talking in excess of about 35, 40,000 each time.
I can imagine.
And you can't see that branch. It comes down, the whole house is covered.
Well, that's all right. Last 2 resolutions, ladies and gentlemen, they're confidential. The full resolution will be at your table seat before you vote. These 2 resolutions are things that we've discussed in executive session, and they deal with agreements we've made for the Child Victims Act. These are cases that have already been agreed to from the Child Victims Act, but to make sure we transparently have you vote on all disbursement of money, you'll have them in front of you at your table on the 20th. And I think you know what I'm speaking about there. Last thing on this slide, the reorg meeting is Tuesday, July 2nd. That's 5 and 5:30. We don't have any presentations. We do the reorg at the beginning with the swearing in and the election of officers, and then the required and statutory votes. And then at 5:30, we unveil about 88 items. And I'll tell you, of those 88 items, for the current board members, there's been a few language changes and a few dollar changes, but I don't see, except for some capital projects, none of them on there are things that you haven't voted on before in the past. If I could do a quick summary, and then we'll be done for executive session, but I want to call to your attention to a couple of things, and I will go quick. I'm sorry I wasn't at the statutory meeting for the vote, and I apologize, but I appreciate your support of me and my vacation day. What I wanted to tell you is that the Niagara Falls City School District budget passed at 84.3%. 84.3% is the highest school budget passing rate in Western New York. Number 1 in Western New York. Higher than any budget, 1,507 to 208. The highest passing rate anywhere in Western New York. I will say it again at the appropriate time, but I do want to congratulate Mr. Villardo, Mr. McLeod for their victories, and I do want to congratulate Mr. Paleo, Ms. Jackson, and Mr. Kane for running. I think it's quite admirable that you did that, and congratulations to our 2 board members. On June 14th, the LaSalle Education Club dinner will be at Niagara Falls High School. You've all been through this and been to that nice dinner. What I did want to mention publicly is the education recipient is the co-president of the Niagara Falls High School parent group. Her name is Karen Howard. Ms. Howard is a dynamite person. I know Mr. Villardo sees her quite often at the parent group meetings, but I wanted to congratulate publicly Karen Howard
as the award recipient, and she's getting it because she's a parent. That dinner is on the 14th. Cheryl talked to you about Class Day. I told you that students are in Disney until the 8th for Unified. I want to talk about a couple of athletes. First of all, let me tell you this. Spring sports. Every one of our spring sports teams qualified as a scholar athlete team. That means that 75% of the kids have a 90% or better average on the team. That's pretty good, pretty good. 70, that's every spring team is a scholar athlete team. I want to wish the following students our best wishes and good luck. They left today. They're performing in Syracuse tomorrow and Saturday, we hope. Our 4x100 female team of Janaea Harris, Janasia Carey, Tamaya Jenkins, and Jayla Scott. They are state qualified. They're running 4x100. They're doing it in about 47 seconds. I tried to drive 4x100. It took me 1:12, and these girls are running it. In addition to that, Janaea Harris, who's on that team, is also a state qualifier in the high jump. I can't jump an inch. Also, Mr. Nick Young, an outdoor track star, qualified for the 200-yard dash. God bless you. I wanted to acknowledge those students. I want to wish them luck. They're champions, as are the scholar athletes. Bring it home. I think you're going to see some really good finishes from our track stars. Mr. Corella and I attended 2 P-TECH celebrations this week, and I have to tell you, the number of parents that come for the signing, we have a signing day. You know, when we have, say, Tony Pareto signed to play football at Syracuse, didn't happen. We have a day, and we put a shirt on him and say, well, what we've been doing is having our P-TECH students have a signing day for our P-TECH students. This morning at LaSalle, we had to have had 30 parents and 30 kids, and Gaskill, we had another 25, 30 kids and 15 parents. It's really important. These are all future Niagara County Community College students, and we have 2 cohorts, computer applications and industrial manufacturing. July 8th through August 19th, I know this is something Mr. Velardo spoke about during his campaign. There will be a parent course in reading and writing at Bond School in the air-conditioned afternoons on Monday. Air-conditioned afternoons, all you need to do is contact Bond ahead of time, Bond School, ask about the reading and writing course, and you could attend. Next, I want to tell you about a phone call that we participated in today. You know, it's been a professional goal to improve our bond rating. This morning, we talked to Standard & Poor's for an hour. I just want to tell you, we're currently rated as A. There are only 4 school districts, and there are 700 school districts in New York that have a AAA rating. Of course, I was going to ask for a AAA rating, but Becky calmed me down, and we asked for a AA rating for our bond. Now, why are we doing it now? Because in a year, we have to take out a band to pay for the capital projects, and we want the best basis points. We will know on June 11th or 12th if we got the move. So Becky and Julie gave it their best shot today. And I'm really proud of what they did, and we made a strong case. So, Becky, do you want to say anything about that?
Do just want to say, though, that our performance financially in the last several years really is what led the call, and the superintendent's eloquent description of our district and what we do in our district and what you do for our district. And I think all that, when combined, paints a picture of a district who's responsible fiscally and, in tune with what their community needs and the condition of our buildings, and all played into a really positive call. So I'm very optimistic.
We gave it our best. We gave it our best. And we'll see. It is so funny, Russ, because one of the things we said, you're gonna kill me. We said 15 years ago we couldn't buy a toaster.
You did it, didn't you?
They acknowledged it, right? 15 years ago we couldn't buy a toaster. Look where we are now.
That's right.
Look where we are now. If we don't make it, we shouldn't have bought the toaster. But we did our very best. We gave it everything we got. Listen, it's my responsibility. It's also a sense of personal pride for the 9 members of the board. Academics, critical, number 1. Well, no. Safety, number 1. Academics, number 2. Closely followed by finances. So we gave it everything we had. Last, I'd like to go through 9 legislative things that are in front of the legislators right now. One has already died in legislation. It was the bill called Pump the Brakes, slowing down the electric bus vehicle timeline. That is not going to pass. We have to make our first report in August. That didn't pass. APPR, this is the teacher evaluation rating system, to take it out of what the state's formula was and give it back to local control, the districts. That is waiting for the governor's signature. Cell phones in schools. It is still not passed yet. It's waiting for the governor's signature. And I don't know what year that would start or how it would work. Next, there is a bill in the houses that calls to update the civil service questions every 5 years. I think it's a good bill. It's passed both houses of the legislature. There is a bill to make it easier to obtain absentee ballots. That's passing both houses of the legislators. There is a bill to have the superintendent or a board member sit on every IDA. That is still in debate. That's a bill. I think one house passed it, another house is going to pass it, but the bill looks to have the superintendent and or a board member sit on every IDA. In addition to that, a local labor leader. I don't know where that's going to fall. Probably to pass, the governor's probably going to sign this one, that every school district must have an ex officio student board member. That may pass this year. If it does, we'll have to react by this July. I'm thinking it won't go into effect until next July. That means there'll be a non-voting, non-executive session student sitting at the table here as part of the board, ex officio, I think you'd call it. They don't vote and they don't come into an executive session. I think that's going to pass. Finally, yesterday, Rick sat on a call that we joined him with respect to the state's science of reading and back to basics. I think the biggest thing, we learned 2 things yesterday. One was that there is a difference between the science of reading and the governor's back to basics. Yesterday, the state told us what the toolkit looked like as a strongly suggested group of best practices for science of reading. We, in a quick glance, hit every one of them, especially when we move phonics to 3rd grade at some point next year. The governor's back to basics will not be revealed until December or January of 2025. So, those are some legislative updates that I've been trying to keep track of over the course of the last week, and I believe the legislature leaves Saturday. So we should know on cell phones and school board members and all those things based on that. And as soon as I know, I'll text you. That's all we have for this evening, board members. unless you have questions, I'm going to ask for an executive session. And the reason for the executive session is, and there will be no action taken after this executive session, so there's no reason to come out and vote. But I'm asking for a motion and a second and full approval to go into executive session for the the motion termination of 2 individuals. That's the reason why we're going into executive session. Mr. Velardo?
Second.
Mr. Bilson? Call the roll. All in favor?
Call the roll.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.